WAKR, here we go. We're heading to film school. Always look forward to our Friday piece as going to film school with Dr. Joe Fortunato, film study professor. And we're going back to the early 90s, a movie that when I see it on, I have to stop because I think it's just extremely funny. I'll let Dr. Joe Fortunato take it from there. Go ahead, Joe.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And you know, Ray, I think even though our segment's only about 10 minutes long each week, I think I cost you about 2 hours a week because every time you always say you're going to go watch the movie.
I know.
And I'm happy to do it. Today, we are going back to the early 90s, as you said, for a very popular movie, City Slickers, which was released in June of 1991, so celebrating its 35th anniversary this summer. Directed by Ron Underwood, written by the team of Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel. Yes, that's a real name. It stars Billy Crystal, Jack Palance, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, and a bunch of other lesser stars. This was nominated for one Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for Jack Palance, and he took home that win. So it's one nomination and one win. And those were memorable Oscar times because people remember those. That's back when Billy Crystal would host the Oscars, and people probably remember Jack Palance. It's one of the great Oscar images. Jack Palance coming out and doing his one-arm push-ups when he was announced for that award. So it was a big night for the Oscars as well, even though the movie only took home one Oscar. Well, how this came about, Billy Crystal was home watching television about getaway breaks that people would take, and the words cattle drive came to mind. And within a few minutes, he'd sketched out an idea. It said the adventures of three guys entering midlife who join a cattle drive and go off into the wilderness. And that was the genesis of this movie. And even the story, those who know the movie, there's a story that he tells about remembering with his father about his best day from childhood going to a Yankees game. And that's actually a real story that Billy Crystal tells about his real father and growing up from his act. So that story about going to see the Yankees game in the movie is a real story. I talked about Jack Palance and the Oscars and stuff. As a rule, Jack Palance didn't watch his own movies. So he didn't actually see the movie until after he won the Oscar for it. Daniel Stern, meanwhile, declined the writing lessons that were offered by the producers for the movie because he wanted to better convey his character's inexperience at horse riding. But Daniel Stern loved his City Slickers experience so much that he later bought a 500-acre cattle ranch. Now, on the flip side, Bruno Kirby's story was a little bit less enjoyable. He was extremely allergic to horses. And prior to each day of filming, if it involved a horse, of course, he required an injection of allergy medicine just to get through the day's shooting.
The City Slickers, and it's a movie that's kind of comical, but also it's brotherhood coming together. You know, there's a lot of good things about this movie as three guys going about doing this, arguing and bickering, but in the end, they come together and they win, and Jack Palance's role is just tremendous.
Yeah, it's great. And, you know, we'd like to talk about casting sometimes, and originally Rick Moranis was cast alongside Billy Crystal and Bruno Kirby, but he had to leave the role because at the time his wife was diagnosed with cancer, sadly. Some other interesting acting notes. Jake Gyllenhaal, this is his film debut. Billy Crystal's real-life daughter plays his on-screen daughter in the film. And Harvey Keitel originally auditioned for the role of Curly that went to Jack Palance. Clint Eastwood was considered for that role, but he wanted more money than the budget could afford. Charles Bronson was turned down for the role. So, you know, even though Jack Palance was always on Billy Crystal's mind to play Curly, there were some very interesting other options. Christopher Lloyd, forgot to mention him from Back to the Future, also was talked about for that movie. Another name that was considered for the role of Mitch that Billy Crystal actually took was Robin Williams. So he was considered for that role and for the film as well. And if you do go watch it this weekend, here's an Easter egg to look for. The man singing the Pizza Guy jingle, remember they worked for an advertising agency, and the man singing the Pizza Guy jingle is an uncredited Rob Reiner. So you can listen for his voice. And, you know, there's also some great lesser characters. There's the characters of Ira and Barry, who were inspired by real-life ice cream entrepreneurs Ben and Jerry. In fact, so much so that a lot of people thought that that was Ben and Jerry in the movie, sort of playing themselves.
Joe Fortunato with us again. It's City Slickers. And Joe, I think you touched on it, and maybe I missed some of it. They actually went out west to do this. Is that true?
They did. There was a lot of different filming locations, but part of it was done in the West, in the desert. And like I said, it was very dusty. And I just guess because it sort of dovetails into that. One of the famous scenes in the movie is where they give birth to a cow.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting because Billy Crystal actually did deliver the calf. They had 3 pregnant cows that were on hand in case retakes were needed. And the scene was one of his favorites of any scene that he's ever had to do. And there was, like I said, there was 3 pregnant cows, 6 calves were on hand, used in all. There was some fake calves and some live calves, and they all did it on a real farm.
That's awesome. You know, you mentioned Billy Crystal a couple times there, Joe. He's on my list. A lot of times I'll get into some discussions with some of my friends is, who would you like to sit around and have dinner with? And I bring up names from time to time, but one of the names that I'll bring up from time to time is Billy Crystal. Because, right, Joe, when you look at his career, from stand-up to Oscars to comedies, his love of baseball, he's really done so much in all of his years of entertainment and beyond.
Absolutely. I think that would be a fine dinner choice to have Billy Crystal join you.
All right. What do you got going on at joefortunato.com?
Well, we got a big week, and it's net, by the way. It's joefortunato.net is my website. So go there and check out the goings-on. This coming Tuesday, June 23rd, I will be doing a live Fortunato Film School. We will be screening Raiders of the Lost Ark, and this is a special event. It's a free event. This is taking place, again, Tuesday, June 23rd at 5 p.m. at the Courtyard by Marriott on 41 Furness Street in Akron, and we will be screening Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is sponsored by AGS, Adult Guardianship Services, and there will be refreshments there. It's a free event. They do ask that you RSVP just so they know how much to provide in terms of refreshments and such. That number to call is 330-812-3840. Once again, that's 330-812-3840. And you can call an RSVP, tell them that you'll want to join us this Tuesday to see a fantastic movie, hear all my behind-the-scenes stories about the film, learn a lot about the film, and support, even though it doesn't cost you anything, support a wonderful cause in AGS. And we want to see everybody out. So call that number or go to my website, joefortunato.net, and you'll get all the info there.
All right, Joe. As always, great job this morning. Good luck on Tuesday, and we'll do it again next Friday. Thanks for joining me this morning, my friend.
Okay, I look forward to it. See you then.
All right, Dr. Joe Fortunato joining us this morning, joefortunato.net. You can check out all his stuff. And again, great one this morning. So we talked about City Slickers.